Welcome everyone, thanks for tuning in again. This video is all about opening up our quads, stretching out that muscle that runs along the front of our thighs, opening up through the front body, and we'll get a little into the hip flexors as well. So no need to warm up before this video. We do have a lot of dynamic warming movements, but as always, it helps to warm up. You'll be able to get a little bit deeper into the stretch. Even if you jump rope for 10 minutes, go for a little jog before this, or do your usual yoga warm up. Let's jump right into this thing. Go ahead and sit up on your heels if that's comfortable. You can even prop yourself up on a pillow or a block. And tune into your breath. With every exhale, walk your hands down your legs, pressing into your thighs. So we're manually warming up, stimulating the quadriceps. Inhale, lift up. Start at the top of your thighs, near your hip flexors. And exhale, press down. So you lift, release. Walk the hands down a little and exhale, press down. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. So go ahead and find your way back to seated. Take your hands to your hips, lift up, squeeze your glutes, press your hips forward, and exhale, lower. Deep breath in. Exhale, press forward. Inhale, lower. Exhale, press forward. Squeeze the glutes, press the hips out a little further. You can use your hands a little. So lifting and pressing. And lower and release. Continue here, lift. And lower. Really press a little more forward each time. Lift. If this bothers your knees, feel free to roll up another mat or roll up your mat below you. Take a blanket. Do whatever you need to make yourself comfortable. Continue here. Lift. And lower. And hold down. So take your hands behind you. Begin to open up your chest. And as you exhale, lift the hips, press them high. Again, squeeze the glutes, send the gaze high. Hold here, keep squeezing, open up through the quadriceps. You should feel a nice stretch there. And release hips to heels. Lift, press the hips up. And lower. Lift and press. Lower, release. Continue here, lift and press. Hold up. Lower and release. Lift and press. Lower, release. One more time, lift, press. Lower, release. So walk your hands in front of you. Pull your knees together if they started to drift apart. Take a block or a pillow if you have it. If your quads are pretty flexible, you may not need one. But I'll show it with the block for the purpose here. So knees come straight out in front of you, and your feet come a little bit to either side. Soles of your feet face up towards the ceiling. So go ahead and rub out your quads here as you're sitting up, and you may feel a stretch already sitting there. If you don't, take your hands behind you and keep pressing the hips up. So what happens here if we keep the same angle as we were sitting up when we lean back? There's really no more added stretch in the quads. So what you want to do is lift up, tuck your tailbone under, squeeze your glutes, and then sit back down, and this will help facilitate a stretch along the top of your thigh. If you still want more, go ahead and lower onto your elbows behind you. And again, lift your hips up a little, squeeze your glutes, tuck your pelvis under, and then set back down on the block. Or if you don't want the block, you don't have to, but we will be revisiting this stretch a second time where you'll be a little more flexible and you can try it without a block then. Only drop your head back if that feels okay on your neck and you feel safe enough to bring yourself up back to seated. So coming out of this position, if you're on your elbows, press back to your hands and hold there for a moment. And slowly walk your hands up towards your knees. Press your hips back again, open up your chest, take a big roll in the shoulders if that feels good. Rub out the quads. Remove your block if you had it. And we'll go ahead and take the left foot forward into a low lunge on the left side. Tuck the back toe of the right foot. And we'll begin to lunge forward and back. So on the forward motion, we're hitting the hip flexor and the quad of the right leg. And on that back motion, we're getting a little into the hamstring of the front leg. You're getting more than you came here for. Hamstrings and hip flexors and quads. So go ahead and hold forward in that low lunge. Take your hands to the top of your left thigh and sit up tall. Lift up, tuck your tailbone under as much as you can, and then sink low. So really, really pressing into the quad and the hip flexor. The more you can sit up and tuck your tailbone under, taking that arch out of the lower back, the deeper the stretch will be in the quad. Just lift and lower. Lift and lower. Take your hands down to either side of the front foot. Lift the back knee. Stay high in the ball of the back foot and take your hands to the top of the left knee. Sit up tall. And we'll begin to warm up into the quads to get a little deeper in our stretches later. So lean it back. Take some little pulses here. So tucking the tailbone under as much as you can, lean back, arch the back, straighten the back leg, and then bend the back knee, tuck under. So arch and straighten, bend and tuck, arch, straighten, bend, tuck. Nice, continue here, arch, straighten, bend, tuck, hold low, and work on straightening and extending the back knee. You may start to shake a little. I know we've been up in this lunge for some time. A couple more. Drop the back knee. Lunge forward. Take your hands to either side of that front foot. And send the hips back to release out that quad a little bit. Take it into the hamstring of the front leg. Lunge forward and begin to toe heel your left foot a little more out to the left. Your hands will come to the center. So a really big quad opener coming up. Keep your right hand down. Look over your left shoulder and send your left hand back towards your right foot. This is a pretty intense stretch, so I'll show you guys how to use a yoga strap, and you can use anything else that would work as a yoga strap to facilitate a deeper stretch when you can't quite reach for that foot. You can watch me struggle to get the strap on my foot here. And pulling on that leg, once you get a good hold there, square your hips off towards the front of the room. You can actually take the strap up and over your shoulder, over the left shoulder, and square off towards the front. So here you're getting still a pretty good stretch in your quads without having to reach back for the foot. Go ahead and drop that back foot all the way down, toe heel the front back through center, and set up for pigeon. So active pigeon at first, pulling the inner thighs in towards one another. This is a great place to use a block as well, since we aren't necessarily focusing on opening up that front hip. If you are warmed up beforehand though, feel free to take your full pigeon. Sit up nice and tall. Again, tucking the hips under as much as you can to get a stretch on that right hip flexor. Sink into that front hip. Make it a comfortable position. Take a twist on over towards your left, so towards that front knee. Come back through center and then turn towards the right, towards your back knee. Time for the quad opener now. So bend into the back knee. Take your hand to the foot or take your strap to the foot. And once you get that strap or your hand on the foot, see how much you can square off towards the front of the room. If you're feeling that front hip release and you can remove the block, sink a little deeper towards the floor, that's always an option. If you do have your hand on the foot, this is what it looks like to be squared off towards the front of the room. And I'll just be playing around on screen here, showing some different variations. Once you have the strap, you can bend and extend the leg, as I'm doing here. Also an option to take mermaid pose. If you open the hips a little more towards your right, tuck the foot in the crease of your elbow there. And you can take a bind with the hands or hold to the side. Feel free to always pause the video and work on whatever you want to work on here. Get a little extra stretch. You can also press the base of your hand to the top of your foot. Press that heel a little closer towards your glute to get an added stretch. Go ahead and return to center. Tuck that back toe. Press through your hands to a wide stance down dog. So feet come to the edges of your mat, hands to the edges of your mat. Walk it out a little. Take any movements that help you feel good, even out the sides. Go ahead and return down to your knees, sitting on your heels. Bring your attention back to your breath. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, press your hands to your thighs. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press. Lift and press. Lift and press. Bring your hands back up to the tops of your thighs one more time. Deep breath in. Exhale. In and out. In and out. In and out. So we'll move through those same stretches on the other side. Go ahead and pull your right foot up forward. Take that low lunge and begin to find the dynamic movement. So hinge forwards and backwards. Keep your hips nice and square towards the front of the room. Next time you're forward, go ahead and hold there. Draw your hands up to the top of your right thigh. Again, tuck the tailbone under as much as you can. Lift up a little and sink low. Lift and lower. lift, and lower, lift, and lower. Take as many as you need here, or hold in a position that feels a good stretch. Take your hands to either side of that front foot. Lift the back knee, so make sure that back toe is tucked. Draw your hands to the top of the front knee. Begin to sit up tall. Feel a good stretch along the quad of the left leg and find some little pulses here. Hands come to the hips. So we'll begin those arch and extend, bend and round, arch and round, arch and round. Continue here. You're not necessarily rounding, as more so tucking the tailbone under. And hold low, bend and extend the knee. A couple more here, and go ahead and drop that back knee. Exhale, send the hips back to reverse the stretch. And as we come forward, toe heel the right leg a little more out to the right. Hands come to the center. Left hand stays down and look over your right shoulder. We're taking that big quad stretch in the left quad now. So reach back towards your left foot. If this feels all right, stay here, breathe through it, or grab your strap if that is too intense. Continue to hold and breathe here. Take note if you're holding your breath or creating any tension that's unnecessary. Go ahead and release the strap or the foot down towards the floor. Square off your shoulders and your hips towards the front of the room. And toe heel your right foot across the left, set up for pigeon. If you have your block and like to use it on this side, do so. If you did it on your left, I'd recommend doing it on this side as well. And sit up tall. Take a twist towards the front knee, to the right, and across towards the back leg to the left. Go ahead and bend into that back knee. Take the quad stretch now. Again, option to take your strap. I really recommend using straps. If you're doing hands, that's what the flip grip looks like, so feel free to watch that over. I can also make another video explaining any of these little moves if you guys like. Just leave it in the comments. I'd be happy to do it. Again, if you have the strap around your foot, you can work on bending and extending. So dropping the foot a little closer towards the ground, then picking it back up. Maybe you drop your head back. Work on getting your toe to the top of your head. All these options. And go ahead and open your hips towards your left, setting up for that mermaid pose here. You're taking some variations. For mermaid, you lock the top of your foot in your elbow crease there, and find a bind with the hands. Again, feel free to practice that on your own time. Pause the video, do it a little now. But you'll press into your hands, tuck that back toe, lift the hips high, find your down dog. Take any little movements you need here. Bring your attention back to breath and body. And go ahead and drop your knees down on the mat. Come back to seated, take a big roll in the shoulders. We'll go ahead and revisit our posture seated on the block with the heels out to either side of your hips. So we can take the same variation we did last time. Remember, when you're leaning back, lift up, squeeze your glutes, tuck your pelvis under, and then lean back. If you're feeling a little more flexible, option to completely remove the block, but only do that if sitting up tall like this feels okay. Only then lean back onto your elbows. Remember, lift the hips, tuck the pelvis under. That should facilitate a very deep stretch along the fronts of your thighs. An option to lean all the way back onto your shoulders. If you're all the way back on your shoulders, practice squeezing the glutes, lifting the hips from the floor just a little bit. Try and hold there, and then releasing the hips down towards the floor. So squeeze, lift them up, relax, and lower. Squeeze and lift. Wherever you're at in this posture, you can do this, and lower. So to come out of here, press your elbows into the floor and then press your hands to the floor. Return up to seated. And we'll go ahead and give the tops of our feet a little love here. So tuck your toes and press your hips back towards your heels. You can stretch through the ankles and the calves. If it feels all right to sit up on your heels, do that. Continue to breathe here. Take note of where your body is in this moment. Lift up, press your hips forward, tuck your tailbone under, and send hips back towards the heels. For this next stretch, come up on your knees, take your right leg out to the side and your left arm down, reach up overhead. Bend and take a quad stretch behind your back. So your right knee will bend and take your right hand behind your back. Open up here, keep pressing through the foot to get deeper into the quad. Open up, return to center. Hands come down and switch sides. Left leg extends out. Open up, reach your left hand overhead, and take a quad stretch this side. Return to center. We'll go ahead and make our way all the way onto our backs. Once you're there, keep your knees bent. Take your feet wide to the edges of your mat. And keep your feet where they are. Allow your knees to fall on over to the left. Bring the knees through center and on over to the right. Return to center, give your knees a big hug in, and pull your right knee in, your left leg long. Take a twist so your right leg comes over to the left. To add the quad stretch in here, bend the left knee, and reach your right hand for your left foot. To make it more intense, Go ahead and extend the right leg. Go ahead and unravel. Pull your left knee to your chest and allow your left knee across your body for the quad stretch. Bend the right knee. Take your left hand to your right foot and open up. To get deeper, extend your left leg long. Gently return to center. Take your feet right under your knees. Come up high on your toes and press your hips up as high as they can towards the ceiling. Hold here. Option to stay here, or I'll walk through a couple other quad openers you can take. So one option, take the left foot behind the left hip. Keep the hip right over the ankle and continue pressing up, so tucking your tailbone under and opening through the quad. Return to your bridge. Tuck the right foot under and sink low. We'll take one more time each side to lift back up to bridge. Tuck the left foot under and lower. Lift and right foot under. Lift and lower all the way down. Rest here. Take a big full body stretch if you'd like. Shake out your legs. And that is all I have for you guys in this quad opening video. I truly hope you enjoyed. Leave how you feel in the comments. Any questions, suggestions for other videos, definitely let me know. I love to hear it. Namaste.